Hi, and welcome to another episode of the MPNFL GameFace Netball Show. And tonight I am joined with Rumours, who has joined us with her Stone Cats gear on, and that's because we've got Brooke here today representing Langwarrin Football Netball Club. So you just wanted to...
Just wanted to get in the spirit. Have we had a Div 2 club? We'll just pretend we ever did one club. I didn't grab the wrong top or anything, so it's fine.
Yeah. So
it's worked out well for me.
Yes, absolutely. So just representing, so having someone here from both divisions to chat today after having a couple of weeks off.
It has. We've had the almighty COVID interruption, which was unfortunate, but we've got through it when we're back playing, which is really, really good to see.
It was bound to happen, wasn't it?
It was bound to happen. Yeah. It was, I think everyone was more hoping it didn't happen more than anything. But I think we all knew as soon as they said we're going to 7 days, we're like, yeah, it's going to be longer than that.
And we knew it wasn't 7 days, yeah. We knew it wasn't 7 days at all.
No, and you just listen to the government announcement, just go, just tell us what's happening with community sport, what are we doing?
And then you get that update and then it's like, no, you've got to wait for the next, we've got to wait for the presidents to have their meeting and we've got to sort it out. The guidelines have got to come out and then we can
Yes, and then we've got to hear from what the AFL's doing, Netball Victoria's doing, and then
we put it all together.
And then here we are. We're back.
We're back. We didn't have any crowds on Saturday, but it was a wonderful day weather-wise. We were all very lucky, and I have a special shout-out to Frankston Bombers who supported us on Saturday and let us use their courts. I think they've only played one game down at their new courts as well, so we were lucky. Yeah, they'd only just played one. Yeah. So down on their courts, and they were extremely helpful for us because we obviously share with FDNA, who were also trying to plan to run a junior competition, and without knowing what was happening, what numbers were what, we just made the decision that we would move our game to make it easier for FDNA to be able to run their competition. And once we did get the guidelines, because of, what was it, not even 48 hours, and you've got to put on the games. And
and for the home clubs it was a real challenge to work out what they could and couldn't do. You know, are we allowed to have people there? Who are we allowed? You know, who's on the gates? You know, it was a challenge, and it's a credit to everybody.
Do you have someone on the gate?
Yeah, absolutely.
We didn't have a gate.
No. Where you're not taking money, and where your gate sits, like our gate's right up the top, and you can't force make some poor person stand up there the whole time. But we position people. Once they came in, and we've also got an open park. There's plenty of places with open parks, and you don't want to put your volunteers under
any duress.
Yeah, that's for the police.
So, and like you said, a beautiful day on Saturday. So we weren't allowed to have any spectators, but we did have plenty of dog walkers around some of the grounds, which we saw on some of the footage that was filmed.
Yeah. I did have a little chuckle to myself when I rocked up at 8:30 down into Frankston Bombers, and the little dog club had set up their thing, and all the dog walkers were out. And I was like, wow, are you actually the dog club?
Yeah. So, look, but in overall, I think all of the clubs and their spectators understood that it wasn't something that the clubs were wanting, but in the end, it's, they're the regulations that are in place.
I'm not sure about you guys, but definitely showed across our games, particularly obviously the one I was at, that the community really got behind the clubs, that we don't make the rules, we don't enforce them either, but we do the right thing and we do what we need to do to be able to make the games happen. And, I was actually surprised with the amount of people that
I thought there'd be more dog walkers. I actually thought there'd be a lot more dog walkers and things like that.
People actually, and I think that helped with the live streams. But even, there wasn't any live streams of netball, but there wasn't, people did stay away. Those mums and dads that might have come, or sisters, things like boyfriends, girlfriends.
And we had the conversation with our club. Even our injured players, they were either going to come to score or they weren't to come to the court. And just particularly because it wasn't even our home game, we wanted to respect Seaford, and I said to my players, at no time do I want to have that conversation with you to say, no, you're not meant to be here, you're going to have to leave. I said, don't put that on me, and don't put that 100%. On Seaford as well. So
and there's so many volunteers.
Absolutely,
the rules are out there. Let's just do the right thing.
Just get through it. It was 1 week, hopefully.
Probably the home game people were that little bit lucky. There are so many different things that you need to do that normally you're struggling to find anyone to do.
Yes, it was a fantastic excuse. Yeah, I know that our club
had so many volunteers on Saturday for my home game.
I know our footy club had that with who wanted to do the the flags at the footy,
the scoreboard.
Yes, it's like hands up. Yep, I'll do that. It's an excuse to be at the game. So no, it was interesting. It was really unusual not having crowds. It was very unusual, because I coach the under-17s. I'm generally there for the entire game, for the entire day, and so to be around. I coach under-17s, which I had to do at Chelsea.
I was going to say, did you stay
Yeah, so I coach under-17s at Chelsea, so that was outdoors, so that was fine. Then drove to Seaford where I coach D grade, which Danny and I do that together. So she started off the game. I was able to come inside to coach D grade, had to leave for C grade, then I do my warm-up and come in for B grade. But then I was named on the bench for A grade, so I got to stick around for that. It's amazing how I can manage to get through, but that was all legitimate. So, all above board within the rules. No, but it was really interesting. And, like I said, I'm just, big shout out to everybody who just did what we needed to do just so that we can get the season back up underway. And I just think, particularly for kids, everyone's mental health, we all play this for the love generally, and it's just nice just to have been back out on court.
Yeah, it was awesome.
So much tan as well.
So much what?
Tan.
So much fake tan.
Everyone had plenty of time to apply their tans.
We got the message. Get the fake tan out, girls. We're back on court. So.
There you go. See, I love it. These are the type of girls I need to be playing netball with.
We did have a chuckle. I can't even remember who it was, but someone was like, they were orange today.
Interesting. This is a very just a fake tan side note. Is the minute that Collingwood football, the Super Netball released their new dresses, which were predominantly white, it was the first thing that I thought of. It's like, I know some of those Collingwood players fake tan before games.
Yes.
Those white dresses are not conducive to that. So who made up that? Wasn't somebody who's a tanner. Anyway, that's a side note. So what, as a result of the 2 weeks that we've had off, what that has resulted in is some changes to the fixturing across our divisions. So, Lou, how has that impacted Division 1?
So, for Division 1, we just lose rounds 8 and 9. So, we have an even fixture. We play each other twice. So, 8 and 9 are gone, and we won't see those teams until round 17, 18, if I can do my maths correctly.
And no points at all, just everyone's
no
zero.
Points at all, everyone's zero, just cancelled games.
So those two teams you'll only play once, everybody else you play them twice.
Everyone else we play twice. So we do miss out. There were a couple of games which were percentage boosters for some clubs, which I'm sure they'll be.
I'm sure everyone was definitely...
everyone was saying, who do we miss? What do we do? Oh, no, I know we got a message. Can we, even if the football decide this, can we just play at ours? We need that percentage. It's like, just calm down. We're not even going to be... We're going to be missing more than 1 week. So let's see what happens and then we'll make those decisions. But you've just got to roll with it. It is what it is. And, there are a couple of games that I would have loved to have seen during that time that we won't get to see until those last couple of rounds. And then you'll see them again finals time. So in that sense of things for those clubs, not being able to level up to where they are, but then, they might get a real big reality check come the last 2 rounds heading into finals, which could work in their favour.
It's not always bad.
No, not always bad. I would have really loved to see, I think we missed Edie versus Rosebud, so that would have been the 2 top of the table in A grade for us, and then I think a Rosebud feature in the finals in all divisions, and so to Edie. So there would have been some really good games to see exactly where they are. Red Hill was supposed to play Rosebud, which again would have given Red Hill a really good opportunity to see where they fit in the season, and I really would have liked to have seen mainly because I coach C grade, but Pines versus Frankston Bombers, 2 teams that haven't featured in the finals for the last few years. I don't think
performing well so far,
and performing really, really well this season. So, I think after last week they're both 2nd and 3rd. So it would have been really nice to see, and probably for them to also benchmark exactly where they're at because they haven't seen everyone and how far they've come. And
I imagine with that perfect fixturing, there's a lot of plus against the fact that you can play everybody once and have a chance to have that retribution if you particularly haven't won the game.
Look at
leading into finals.
So we were lucky when we played. I think my team, when we played Pines round 1, we were lucky to come away with the win. were able to get convert, and then we're like, all right, what do we need to focus on to be able to do that
again in the
round?
swap?
And you can see, you know what you've seen, so you know where you've got to, know where you were less, know what you got to do more. So those couple of teams that with top 5 teams that aren't going to see each other till then, you just who knows, and then so it'll make for some really good games at the end of the season.
Yeah,
definitely.
absolutely.
Those last few rounds will be amazing, I reckon.
Yeah. But then it comes down to, those percentage boosters. Might change that second and third position. You don't get that percentage, so you might not get all. Third and fourth, you might not get the final spot, or you might not get the second chance. So there are some close ladder numbers across our grades, which will be very interesting come the last couple of rounds.
And what that probably plays into too is that there's some games where you might take the foot off during the year, not necessarily have that instinct to want to really push through and get the percentage, because you can go, well, you know what, next week we're playing X club, that's probably going to be a percentage booster. So, it's not as important. But now there's probably, if you were relying on, percentage and it's going to get tight in the finals, then there's going to be, you don't have that luxury to say, oh, well, it's a 5-goal win, let's just keep it at that. It's like, no, we really need this to be a 10 or a 15-goal win, keep pushing.
And we've probably identified that particularly in my team, with that there isn't that many easy games this year, or either you've got to have your foot down for those ones that are
from the start,
from
the first
your
whistle.
5, 6, 7, you've still got to have your foot down, because they're just as up there as your 1, 2s and 3s. That can really change it. So you've got to keep that momentum through for the whole game, and it'll be really interesting to see what happens. You can't really there's no easy games really for us this year, so.
And so for Brooke, us in Division 2, ours is a little bit different because our fixture doesn't have that perfect swap. So there are some clubs that we play twice and some that you only play through once. So our rounds 9 and 10 have been picked up and dropped in on top of where 17 and 18 would have been, which would have been clubs that we were playing the second time round, which means that at least we're playing everybody once, which is great because you didn't want to get through to finals.
Would you have played people twice before you'd played people once?
No.
So you've already played everyone once.
Yes. Yeah. So the on Saturday, that was the end of our first cycle.
Yeah.
And we were due to so we're due this tomorrow to play our flop.
You haven't played. Sorry, those 2 rounds that you missed, you haven't played them yet.
No.
So you won't play them until the end.
Into the last 2 rounds, exactly. So it's a little bit different for us. So, there's going to be teams that we've played twice before we've played a team once, which is interesting. And again, we looked at it and just said, imagine, who are the 2 games that we're missing? And there was games there you just go, I would have liked to have played them twice for all different reasons, whether it be from a percentage point of view or whether it be because, you've lost the game or it was a tight game and you want to test it the next time round. But it is what it is. We've got those now moved to 17 and 18. So, Brooke, how did that impact Langwarrin? You guys were all comfortable with that fixture change?
Yes and no. It would have been great to have played them. We had Pearsdale for A grade, and we were really excited to play them because they're sitting second. I don't think so anymore, but they were sitting second and we were sitting first, and we know that they're going to come up in finals, and they've got a strong team. It's the first time that they've been in the top 5 for a very long time.
Well, they hadn't won a game last season, so it's a big turnaround, and so a different team.
And it gives you that, we might have said it already, but that opportunity to see what you need to do to be able to either extend that lead or get that win.
Yeah, because if you have the loss during the home and away season and you come up against them in finals, you've had the opportunity to do that assessment, decide
You're the underdog
what do you
too.
need.
You've got that little bit of fight.
Yeah. So it is interesting.
Yeah. So look, and everyone's in the same boat. That's the only thing that we were, we're the same as everybody else. We're like, okay, every club is in the same position. Everyone's losing these 2 games. We're going to drop them in at the end. But I guess it's hard just not having, a game to play, to come into a training session and then play, 2 days later. That was a big challenge for a lot of girls, definitely.
Did you guys, just on that, did you have training, did you just train Thursday night beforehand? Did anyone train?
We did Tuesday, Thursday.
Yeah, same. Yeah. So we ran a non-compulsory Tuesday because obviously people have other commitments, work or whatever the case may be. So not everyone needed to come, but it was just to get your hands on a netball again after a couple of weeks off. So we ran the Tuesday session and then just ran our normal team sessions on the Thursday night.
We had so many numbers.
Yeah, we had a bit of a Zumba session the Thursday before with one of our club stalwarts jumped in and said she's done a bit of fitness. So Katie, the first lady, jumped on and took a Zumba class, and then we had they smashed out a fitness session on the Saturday when you could train but in your groups of 10.
Groups of 10s,
we had some running and some on the courts and then switched over, which was really, really good and in different positions. So they had that, and then we were able to pretty much focus on training and had a bit of a game session.
Because it is interesting speaking to some of the physios that I know, the amount of injuries, soft tissue injuries that have, in netball, but in all sports.
In all sports, just having
at
that
the
year
moment.
Off.
Yep, just from having the full year off and now having, it's been a very interrupted season. Our pre-season, it was whether the season was going to go ahead or not. Now we're having another break again. It's not easy on the bodies, to try and keep that conditioning.
Yeah.
So
and even
to run those extra sessions is so important.
And the amount of, there's lots of people that do a lot of work outside of netball and do different things, but it's completely different to actually playing. You're missing 100%. A whole year of playing, which is completely different to no matter what you do, it's different. So
I can tell you right now, no one bangs up against you like that at the gym as they do on a netball court. I don't get scratches all up and down my arms when I go to the gym. I find it when I do come off the netball court though. So interesting that. All right, so let's move on and let's talk about the milestones that we have across the grounds at the moment. So Division 1, Lou,
we hadn't had anything come through from Div 1 for this week, but the girls have been pretty good on that, so maybe it's just a quiet week out there. I know there's a couple of girls eagerly calculating how many finals games or now that they've missed 2 when they're going to actually reach a couple of milestones. So we do have a couple at YC that might have to play an extra season like you have over the past, Christy, just to get those big numbers in.
As we spoke about in our last show, it was I was coming up to my 150th game, so I played that on Saturday against Seaford. Disappointingly, I guess, is the fact that it was without crowds, like my family couldn't come, so it was disappointing, but we had a win, which was fantastic. So, but I will be celebrating that hopefully with crowds tomorrow against Langwarrin at our home court. So that'll be my 150th celebration.
Your 150th. 51st?
Yeah, 151st. So I'll be playing that game tomorrow and, looking forward to hopefully getting some crowds around that game. But we also have Steph from Chelsea, who's in the D grade. She's the goal defence down there, who has knocked up 100 games for Chelsea. So congratulations to Steph. And Lisa Donnellan, who, we've both played netball with Lisa.
Yeah, I got to play quite a few years with Lisa.
Yeah, so
Tuesday night.
I'm sure I ran around with Lisa back in the old days at Peninsula once upon a time. So she's also playing her 100 games for Chelsea. She plays in B grade at the wing attack there. So congratulations to those girls. And there's a milestone at Langwarrin as well tomorrow.
Yeah, we've got Felicity Bell from our D grade team. She's been around for a long time and played across C and D. But reaching that this weekend, so that'll be exciting at your home. So
we'll look after her. So congratulations to those girls. And like we said, if you are celebrating milestones across your club, then send through the information so that we can shout out and celebrate those players. All right, so let's talk about the games that we had on the weekend. Luma, what happened in Division 1?
In Div 1, there wasn't too many games that were standouts or surprises or anything like that. Across Div 1, everything was pretty standard. I would say I would have liked to have seen a bit of a bigger margin between Rosebud and Sorrento in their A grade. With Rosebud sitting on top. Sorrento are only just out of the 5. I think they're sitting in 6th with the same points as 5th, but there have been some top of the ladder teams that have had quite a big margin, and it was only, I think, 10, not even 10 goals. So that might be a reflection of the team that Sorrento have playing each week or Rosebud have playing each week. But when I saw, unfortunately, Sorrento were a team we haven't been haven't seen yet. It was in the COVID break that we were meant to play Sorrento. So, but seeing Rosebud and seeing how good that team is.
So I heard that Rosebud had a new player take the court for them. I think it was in A grade. I'm going to guess that she was in A grade, but that's Julie Colado's sister.
Oh, nice.
So she took the court for Rosebud, and she is an athlete, no different to her sister. I think she's more of a track athlete.
Yeah.
And she took the court and, hasn't lost it apparently. So, it, was able to run around and, I think she might potentially be a 400-metre runner or an 800-metre runner potentially, and looked like it on the court. So, it's a fantastic just to be able to have that colour of player just to be able to pop onto the court. So, and the connections that they have down there.
So who were they missing?
So maybe they were missing some players, which might be a reflection on the score.
Yeah, well, I know that I did see them post their teams, and I know that the B grade only posted 7 players. So I think that there was quite a few that had to play across
a couple of games.
Yeah, a couple of games. So that might explain the scoreline.
The scoreline.
There's also probably because of school holidays for private schools started this week as well.
No one's allowed to go anywhere, Brooke.
Oh.
No. I don't know.
You can. You just can't go to Queensland.
I know.
Or WA.
That's where everyone goes.
I suppose, as soon as the restrictions have lifted, everyone's like, we'll get out. We don't have school next week. We'll go early.
Yeah,
so that might have been
absolutely.
another factor as well.
Yeah, absolutely.
And then in terms of the other call-outs, a huge shout-out to Mount Eliza taking their first win on Saturday against Frankston Bombers. So 32-26 coming away with the win. I know I said at the start of the season when we first saw them early on in round 2 that they are a young team and, they would struggle to win quite many games this year, but they've got one across the board. And unfortunately they probably won't get 2 in a row, but they can get one at least.
Who are they playing on the weekend?
They were playing YC, so we hope they don't get 2 in a row. Otherwise, but no, they they've got quite a different team to that they've had from previous years, and if they can keep it together and keep growing, they've had some really close games, and just keep going and putting it together, they'll be a force to be reckoned with in the years coming across most of their grades.
I know they got around it on social media, so they were really pumped for that win. So good on them. It's nice to, it's difficult to go
hard.
through a season when you're losing each week. Yeah. So to have that win,
it just gives you.
Yeah, sorry to interrupt. We played them in a practice match leading up to the season starting, and the one thing that I liked about them is they didn't give up.
Yeah,
they didn't get into that last quarter going,
stuff it.
They just play the whole time.
They played the whole way through, and that's what you want to see. So.
And you try and win those quarters, so you've got, you give you give yourself your little goals, and it's really good to see that they're finally able to crack that win. Interesting. I think Bombers will find it hard to win another game this season. So they've lost
some changes going on.
Had some changes. Lost one of their best players, and just probably struggling towards the second half of the season, which they had really showed some promise at the start of the year. So it is quite disappointing to see.
Absolutely, because one player shouldn't be the difference.
But maybe potentially there might be some other changes around. We see them in a couple of weeks. So it'll be interesting to see the difference in the team. Then in D grade, we had a 1-point win to Pines, unfortunately.
Against YCW, was it?
Yes, it was right on the siren. It was in the last sort of 2 minutes was probably a 4-goal turnaround.
Wow.
So, a couple of missed opportunities on our end, and Pines capitalised, and, you get that run on in that last couple of minutes. And
you just talk about push, being able to play and not give up. That's an example about why.
Yeah,
because 100%. It is possible to do that.
You can mow it down and get that score, and they took away the win, which they were pretty ecstatic about. And then also just wanted to mention, I think in C grade, the Pines girls will be a big contender come finals time. So we went down, we just couldn't get it together. Unfortunately for my girls, we'll blame the COVID break and interrupted. No, Pines were very, very good.
Maybe it was a Zumba session.
It might have been the Zumba session. They have some, they gel really, really well. One of their players, shot 31 of their 38 goals, and
wow.
Their defensive end is really floating defender in C grade is kind of hard for some C grade players to adjust to because they're not used to them and you don't see them very often, and she plays it very, very well. So very interested to see, and they're probably my flag favourites at the moment. So we'll see what happens come the pointy end of the season. And then
so
Rosebud.
I'm just penciling down Pine, C grade player, defender. Okay, yep, got it. Thank you. Continue.
And Rosebud in D grade had a cracking win against Sorrento, 62-6. So very big scoreline there on what was a nice warm winter's day.
Yeah, if we could order that type of weather for our season across the 18 rounds, then we'd be laughing, wouldn't we, rather than some of those ones where the rain's coming in sideways. All right, so anything else that you wanted to call out? No,
not really. Everything was pretty standard. Under 17s, everyone you would have expected to win come away with the win.
Okay, so moving on to Division 2, we had some close games across the divisions on Saturday. So in A grade, Mornington versus Pearcedale. Mornington won that game 45-44. So a single goal making the difference there, which was a bit of a surprise to me. We haven't played Pearcedale yet, so that was one of the games that we haven't, that has the COVID impacted. So, but we have played against Mornington. Holly Hood, who runs around with Mornington, is a beautiful player, and they've got some, they've got quite a bit of talent. But I thought that Pearcedale would still have that win. But then I did hear that Carly Foster unfortunately did injure her ankle in that game. So I'm not sure at what point of the game that happened, and so that could have contributed to their scoreline, because 44 again is quite a low score for them considering the weather as well. So hopefully, Carly, if you're listening in, all the best on the recovery, and hope that doesn't keep you off the court for too long. But that was a bit of a surprise. We also had some close games in C grade. We had Pearcedale, coming away with the loss in the A grade, but the 1 point win in the C grade game. So they won that one 37-36. So snuck away with that one. And there was also a 1 point win for Coringal against Tayab in the C grade. So a lot of close games. Yes. I'm not sure if they were as, within the last few minutes, but generally.
You would think so.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So really, really tight, whether it was.
It might have been a real boring last 5 minutes.
Steamrolled them at the end.
But you never know, that could have been like a chase down, and they
absolutely.
They could have been down by 6 and then they've come to only be down by 1, or the flip side, you don't know which way it flipped.
Absolutely. I barrack for Essendon, and we watch that quite regularly. Essendon just waits to the last minute before they're able to come away with a win. And in D grade, Somerville 39 defeated Seaford 36. So that was a really close game, and I was lucky enough to sneak into the end to watch that game at the indoor stadium at Lennon House. So that was really great. So other than that, I think, it's in Division 2, there were some really big blowouts for a lot of the other games. So it's starting to really kind of, our competition is really kind of splitting. So there's going to, and it's different in each grade. So it's not necessarily the same clubs, but there's definitely a distinct top five or 6. Some of them potentially maybe a 7th kind of pushing there, but a real distinct top and bottom of the ladders. And so unfortunately, when that aligns in a round, there's some really big blowouts. So it's, it's a shame, but, it's the way that the season goes. And, it's different as well.
It's the same sort of in Div 1 in each grade. There's probably only 6 teams that are actually in with a chance to make those finals. And unfortunately, the 3, they're just that too far behind to be able to make that gap up.
Yeah. And it's what we're seeing in Division 2. Pleasingly, though, it's not necessarily the same clubs that have been in the finals over the last probably 3 or 4 years. There are some new clubs that are, from recruitment and
100%.
and young girls that are coming through. We're seeing some different clubs that are now coming into finals that haven't been there before. Yeah. And so that's always nice.
Yeah. Same in Div 2. You've seen some.
If I can just do a quick shout out to our girls for the under 17s, 63-9 for Devon Meadows, but we've had 2 girls from that team come up and play senior games on the weekend.
Fantastic.
One girl making her B grade debut, and another girl playing, goal attack with me, which was fantastic.
Yeah,
so,
that's
awesome. Really good.
So that would probably bring me to Emily Bennett. How is she tracking?
Yeah, look, she's doing her recovery. She's been at every training session and, there to cheer us on. But I think she might still be a couple of weeks away. I'm not 100% sure. I haven't seen her since, obviously, the game on the weekend. But, haven't really had a chance to sit and talk to her about her actual ankle, but I know she's been doing her recovery and she's coming along. So I hope she comes because, as you've probably seen, like we've worked, for this would have been our 4th year.
Yes.
And, we've got that click. It's been amazing. I've absolutely loved playing with her. She's made me enjoy my netball.
Yep.
She's been a huge part of that. So, yeah, it's I'm hopeful that it's soon, and so she gets her few games in before finals. And
absolutely,
and
make sure that she qualifies
as well. So, yeah.
I probably should know this, but not having 17, I'm going to ask the question. 17's 12-minute quarters as
Correct.
well. So D grade and 17's just on that with that 60, and obviously there's a couple of in here. EDS had a 68D, and the D grade had Rosebud 62.
Yep,
that's some high scoring goals for smaller games, and it's awesome to see that.
Yeah. And and it's testament to a lot of those girls will be coming up, and if they're not already, will be playing senior netball.
Yeah.
I know in Division 2, in our under 17 comp, there's some really junior under 17s versus some teams that are really experienced. I know Pearsedale's under 17 side is a very experienced side, and they'll definitely be top age under 17s. It was very evident when my girls lined up against them because they've got an unusual fixture, so they've already played the under 17s versus Pearsedale, and it was a significant difference between my kind of 14-year-olds versus those 16 turning 17-year-old girls. It's a significant difference, but to have some under 17 players who are now coming up. I think we've had 4 or 5 players from our under 17s that have come up to play seniors. It's just a great experience for them, good exposure for them to see what senior netball's all about.
Definitely.
Yes. All right. So before we move on, so I just wanted to talk about the fact that we played Seaford at Lennon House on Saturday. It was a last-minute thing, obviously with COVID impacting the season, and their courts weren't quite ready. They're fully there and ready to go, but we weren't able to play on them, which was disappointing. So we're in Lennon House, but they get to play on their new courts tomorrow. So good luck to the Seaford girls who will run out on the courts there. And then in Div 1, we've got some new courts out there as well.
Yes, Dramana have had their courts redone, so they've got some new courts, I think. I'm not sure what the reserve's called, but back where they originally started playing when I was playing Frankston Bombers versus Dramana 2010, 2011.
I don't think I've ever played.
Oh, you've only played them at the high school?
No, the primary school I think I played them at once.
Yeah, in the gym, yeah. So, no, they've got, whenever I first played Dramana, they were down out.
They were down the back.
It's like the tennis court, it was right near the footy oval.
Yep.
So a little bit closer now, and I think it makes their lives a lot easier. They've got lights. They can train. There's more than one court. It's a lot easier when you don't have to deal with as many people that are trying to use courts as you would when you're working with a school. So they get to unveil them this week, which they'll be very, very excited about.
Yeah, no, I think I played initially. I don't think I've ever played them at the footy ground, but I did play them on the outdoor court of the primary school and then the indoor court of the primary school, but never out at the footy ground.
So it's not actually at the footy ground. It's very close.
Walking distance.
I think so. I probably drove.
So I do.
Lots of equipment in the car.
So I do know that they've got the asphalt courts down at Dramana.
Yes.
But whereas Seaford have gone with the hard court surface, the black surface with the yellow line for their team colours.
Tigers.
And
white.
how are your courts coming along? Because you've had them now for a few weeks.
I love them. We've actually, prior to the season, we had some practice matches and we had pouring rain where the other team called it because we were happy to keep playing because we played through it. The water clears quickly. And it still
has some traction and everything.
A lot of traction. It's been fantastic. So it's awesome. We've got the 5 courts.
Yep.
We've got the one facing the opposite way as a warm up, which we do that, or we can go with the other way. But it's been fantastic just to have everyone there at training all together. All doing the same sort of things, and we've really enjoyed the courts.
Yeah, I know that we play down there on a nice sunny Saturday, and you almost need sunglasses because it is bright. Those courts.
Yes, I get the glare out of my bedroom window. It's it's quite bright.
Just go out there with that metal.
I'm actually quite glad that I play netball because otherwise I don't have to listen to the whistles because I'm never there.
Yeah, very true. All right, moving on. We've got the Swordfish game of the week, which obviously wasn't played. So we'd scheduled for that game to be, so obviously we need to adjust that for the following week. So stay tuned to see who the winner is, but we're not going to make any announcements because the game didn't go ahead. So moving on again now, and we head into the rumours. The last show that we did, Anna was here with me by ourselves, and she opened up the Division 1 rumour. So would you like to do the honours?
Actually.
Oh, well, there you go.
Yeah, I think it was Lou. It was
Lou?
you.
Oh, Lou.
I think I remember watching that.
There you go.
I was disappointed watching. Kept refreshing my Facebook last week going,
oh no,
the
sorry.
Yeah,
unfortunately, we just couldn't get it together with the last minute of when the show was. And,
and the announcement was only the day before, wasn't it?
What club has made the decision to begin rebuilding now, moving on from dramas of the past and focusing on their young talent coming through? You could have a look at the ladder and pick out a couple. As who that would relate to. If you've got any ideas, you can pop it in the comments.
Not a bad strategy though.
As long as you're focusing on, you don't want to it's disappointing. You put a lot of effort into the season, so you want to make sure that you are
still competitive,
looking ahead, looking at
you don't want to lose extra players based on what you're doing as well.
But you might get that, trying to get that extra preseason up ahead and use these games as building blocks for setting yourself up for next season. So as long as the club is doing that, that's what I would like to see if I was in control of a club.
Yeah. And there's nothing more frustrating than coming in when you're wanting to come into finals, you're wanting to have really competitive games to make sure that your finals ready, coming up against a side that's already thrown in the towel and just gone, I don't care, moving players around. It's like, make sure that you right to the end and being really competitive.
Because they could still change the ladder. They could 100%. Be playing a team that's trying to get into that 5th spot.
Yeah,
you
be the difference.
You could, cause an upset and change it.
Yeah.
Well, there's plenty of rivalries out there that make you want to play for that. You
definitely.
Don't want to lose to certain clubs, or you do. You want to make sure you win, and so you would hope that they're still playing.
I don't want to lose to anybody.
No, well, sometimes you're like, we lost that. But,
all right, moving on to Division 2. Let's have a look.
We're not lucky. We're all not that lucky to be undefeated. There's only a couple out there.
And it's not me. Brooke's sitting over there.
You're
she's the
undefeated.
Only one.
I think our B grade's undefeated. I'm not sure anyone in A grade's undefeated.
So we've got Langwarrin we've got one in every grade.
I think maybe just EDS and
I think
undefeated in C and D.
Our footy is undefeated.
Yes, our footy is too.
Yeah.
So we've got Langwarrin undefeated in A grade, Tayab undefeated in B grade, Chelsea undefeated in C grade as well as D grade, and Pearcedale undefeated in under-17s.
Nope.
All right, Division 2. Which club is already looking to secure a new coach for 2022 unbeknown to their current coach?
Oh,
that's awkward.
That hurts.
Well,
you would think it would probably someone towards the bottom end of the ladder,
or someone that's causing conflict potentially.
Potentially, yeah.
Look, I think this is one of the hardest things with football netball is coaching. You've got a player coach, correct?
Yeah.
You've got a player coach?
Yes.
We, for the first time, don't. Well,
I'm surprised she's not playing, though.
Our coach, Chloe, returning still from injury.
Oh,
and
of course.
So she's had a couple of knee recos, like half our club has. There's a lot of knees that have been done down there. But so the first time that we've had a non-playing coach, although previously I've been coaching and hadn't been playing A grade for a while.
Yeah.
But it's really hard. It is really hard to find coaches for the MPNFL, and having, typically, our coaches are really connected to clubs. So whether they're playing themselves, like you guys have both got.
It's interesting. We've actually had a couple of people approach us saying they want to coach, but with particular demands. And it's like, well, we're not looking for a coach. One, we're very lucky. We've got a great coach in our ranks, but also coming to us with your demands, it's normally the other way around.
I'm looking forward to it
and
in the
you
future.
Don't have that good
definitely.
A resume.
I'd love to do it in the future, but for me, it's, got kids and, they're number one and, they've got their sport.
Junior sport's going
to So I'm doing their
over.
junior sport, then I'm coming to my sport. So for me, I can't help out the lower grades, and I'd love to. I really would love to, because there is some, even under 17s who Zoe coaches for us. The talent coming through that she's got is amazing. And, just to help out some teams, would be fantastic. So.
And it's interesting because, prior to, I was very ready to move on from coaching. I'd coached the A grade side for a few years, and it just wasn't fair for those girls to just hear my voice for, another season. So I actively was trying to find a new coach to come to Somerville. And
She's been doing that for 2 years, though.
What was that? Looking for someone. I had been looking for someone.
You were put it up. Come coach, or I can give up.
Absolutely. And, even, actively, so it wasn't like, it was myself who I was trying to override. So there was no secrets. I was making it very clear. I no longer want a coach. I need to find a new coach. And it's not as easy.
It's not.
It really is difficult. There's, some big
and that's
budgets.
You wanting to give up your coaching
correct.
position. This is the flip side.
Let alone someone who's here who they've got a coach.
And they're giving up their time, or they may be being paid for it. We don't know who it is. So,
but there are some coaches that are getting paid some, significant dollars. There's a lot of, rules and things that people put in place. If you're going to come and coach, we're going to give you X amount. You must bring X amount of players across. It's starting to become
that puts a lot of pressure on the coach as well, because yes, they're going to come across, but they might not. You've got to be completely
You've got to fit into your culture of your club as well, which is really important.
You've got to grow what you've got.
Yeah.
And then, see your season out, and if you need to look, then look. But I think you should focus on what's there.
Yeah.
Bring in one or two, but having to force them to bring people in, I think,
absolutely.
We want
you want that culture and what you've developed and what you've been working on for however many years to be like. I know that's one thing that, as a club we're kind of super proud, but the girls can actually finally see it. They've had some really, the last few seasons they've missed out on finals, but they've been up there. They've won some really good games, and then this year they're up there and they're seeing, they're winning most of their games, and you can just see the difference. But it is the bulk of those girls have been there
the whole time. And that's like us for A grade. This is our 4th or 5th year together. We know how we play. We know what each other's doing.
And it takes that time to develop. So if you're flipping and flipping.
And we're seeing that in the ladders, when teams are coming through, it's probably because, this is their 4th or 5th year that they've been together. So they've got that that understanding of each other on the court. But, and Chloe, she was particularly selected to come to Somerville because we thought that she'd fit really well in with our culture, and that was really important for us. But there was definitely some other people who had, put up their hands, had approached me and said, yep, I'm interested, and just weren't going to be the right fit for the club. So it's really difficult. So wish that club all the best, but I do know how challenging it is. But that said, if there's anybody who's, like you said, down the track, if there's people that are looking for coaching opportunities, don't be afraid to put your hand up and let it be known, because there are opportunities available, and it is really rewarding.
Get your hand in there.
The under-17s, like you said, I've got the under-17s for our club. It's our first time that we've had them at Somerville, and it's
so exciting.
It is. It's really exciting, and there's a whole scope. You just hope that you can have them come into your club and then play seniors and be 150, 200 odd players sometime in the future. Okay, so let's move on and have a look at our games for tomorrow. Lou, what's going on in Division 1?
Division 1, we probably the game of the round will be, not in all grades, but in some of the grades, is Bombers versus EDS. So their C and B grade probably more so than the other two grades. I think ED will take the cake, particularly in A grade. But both B and C sitting in the top 4. I know B grade they only lost first time round by a couple of goals. So they'll be really looking forward to putting what they, as we spoke about earlier on, in you've seen that game before, so what you can do differently and trying to get that win and knock ED ass off. So I was about to say that is actually going to be our Swordfish player of the match game. So was that C grade?
It's C grade. Frankston Bombers sitting in 4th versus EDS who are sitting in 1st. So
ED, they'll be they're undefeated in C grade. So I think Frankston Bombers, they have a really good, great C grade team that are
and their home game.
And their home game, they're coming forward. So it'll be very interesting to see who comes out on top that week.
Can you send out your spies to that game, Lou, to find out
I
who's best on court?
definitely can send out some spies down there.
Fantastic.
And look, there's not too many more to call out. Sorrento Pines in a couple of grades will be interesting. So A grade, Pines are sitting 5th and Sorrento is sitting 6th. They're on the same point. So We haven't seen Sorrento, so you would imagine that's going to be a close game. Pines, obviously, without Rani, who I know they're very happy that they got the first 7 rounds in with her, because she should hopefully
qualified for finals
and should slot back in nicely.
And so just congratulations to Rani too. So while we're all in lockdown, how amazing to be able to watch an MPNFL girl take the court and not only come away with a Vixens win, but then be named best on court, and just to be able to turn around and shoot like she did. So it's an amazing effort. Congratulations, Rani. Kept us all enthralled with netball while we were all at home on the couch.
Definitely.
May have had some tears watching that, to be honest.
It was a great game. And that's probably about it to call out. We'll see if Bomb Beach, Red Hill potentially in a couple of grades, but I think Red Hill will be looking to come away with some clean sweeps and some really good numbers on the board to help with their percentage in some of those grades. It will really come down to percentage in those last few rounds.
All right, in Division 2, Brooke coming down to Somerville, lining up against us on the weekend. So there's going to be some really tough games against for us, I think, across a lot of the grades. Like you said, Langwarrin are sitting in the top 5 across all of the grades. I think, we've got a bit of a mixed bag at Summy, but, considering the fact that you're sitting, top of the ladder, undefeated in A grade, it gives our girls a real chance to see where they're sitting, because they're not quite in the top 5. So it'll be a tough one for the A grade.
B grade's always good to watch. Always good to watch.
It is always a good game. And like I said, I'm going to be celebrating my 150th, so I'm hoping that the girls get around it. 151st game. So I'm hoping that we can come away with a win, but I actually won the 150th. So if we lose tomorrow, it's no big deal. Okay. We'll just play on. And so C grade is Langwarrin sitting second, Somerville third. So that's going to be another good game.
A great one.
Yeah. So there's some
cracking games down at Summy on Saturday.
Yeah, and our under 17, so we've got all 5 games in the one place, which doesn't happen very often. No. But Langwarrin with under 17s as well, and they're second versus our 4th. So again, some really good games there. So look forward to seeing you, Brooke.
Yep.
Thankfully, I don't play against you. Other games that I think that will be really good will be Seaford versus Mornington. Across a lot of the games, I think there'll be some tough games in those ones at Seaford's new courts. And Hastings versus Tayab. So Tayab, they're B grade at the moment, sitting on top of the ladder, undefeated. A grade girls, it's the old band's back together. They're playing really good netball, sitting currently on 3rd. There's going to be some really tough games there, and it's going to depend on who Hastings turns up.
Who they have.
Because, they've had Taylor Harris come down and have a game. We know that the Jess and Sarah Hosking play.
And then still a few other Carlton girls as well have put a dress on. I think one of them against us when we played them.
Right.
She was a footy player. I couldn't remember. I do apologise. I don't know her name. But, I saw her play footy with Jess.
Yes.
And then she was on the court.
So they've got plenty of athletes.
They've
plenty
got good reach.
Yeah,
that's for sure.
Absolute talent. But it's around that consistency and whether they can pull that together. So, we just hope that, and it's a Hastings home game, so hopefully they get down there and have a bit of competition in that game as well.
Hosco, joining her sister at Richmond for the footy, that's pretty cool.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Yeah, you can't keep those twins separated for too long. But other than that, I think even Devon Meadows and Rye in some of the C and D grade games as well.
Yeah.
But also in those they're 2 of the teams that are probably in A and B not quite in that finals contention. But these are the games that they will be looking at and just going, right, this is the game that we've got to win. And I think that's important for games. If you're not making finals, okay, but so who is the team that you're going to be playing against?
Yeah.
That this is going to be
still want to have those wins.
This is the one for the pride.
Definitely. You play those 4 quarters.
Absolutely, that you're wanting to play. So I'm just really looking forward to some closer games rather than the blowouts that we probably saw last weekend.
Yeah.
So that is it for Division 2.
Yes.
All right. So like I said, the Swordfish Player of the Game is our Division 1 C grade game, which is Frankston Bombers versus EDS. So we will follow up on that. But so that's it for us tonight. Good luck to all the teams that are playing tomorrow. Fingers crossed that we get through all unscathed, that we get to continue on with our season, bring on the crowds again, all of those things. So don't forget to upload your scores live throughout the day on the GameFace record app so that we can all keep updated with what's going on in all the other grounds. Thanks again to our sponsors who make our show possible, Swordfish Mornington and Frankston RSL.
We'll see you all next week. So coming to you with more netball news. If you have a topic that you want us to discuss, feel free to inbox the GameFace page and we'll see you then. Have a great week. Good luck, everyone.
Thanks for having me.
Thanks, Brooke.
Thanks.
Get your GameFace on.